Hello, Toy Collector fans. Universal Toy Collector here, and welcome to the channel. And welcome to another episode of My Collecting Life, the series where I get to speak to you, members of the toy collecting community, about your own personal collections, finding out what got you into collecting in the first place and what gives you that toy collecting buzz. Okay, so the big question on everybody's lips is, who is this week's guest? Well, why don't we find out? Let's take a look at some of his collection in a musical montage. Again, another really fantastic collection and some really interesting pieces in there, especially the Red Shadows from Action Force. Absolutely fantastic. It's my pleasure to welcome to the channel for the first time, Dave from Vintage Toy Rush. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm very good, Stu. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad for this Saturday. Yeah, it's all good. Thank you very much. I've had the pleasure of meeting you a couple of times, so it's quite nice. One at Sandown
That's
and the
right.
other at Echo Base. So we'll get to that a bit later. I do have a specific question on that topic. So you were saying in the green room that you're aware of the series. So basically, I have 10 questions for you, all about you. Run time roughly about an hour. We can run over if needs be. So yeah. So on with the first question. What are your childhood memories and what toy lines were you into?
Wow, that's a good starting question. Let's see. Well, I guess I was into quite a lot of toys when I was younger. That doesn't mean I had a huge collection of toys. It just meant that I was into all sorts of things, and I think that was partly down to my dad, to be honest. One of the earliest toys that I really got into is Lego. Actually, I really loved
Okay.
Lego when I was younger.
Mm.
My dad was an engineer, and I think I just was inspired by him. So I loved taking things apart when I was younger, even if I
Okay.
wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
And then tried to put them back together and wasn't always successful. But I just loved Lego because I could build whatever I wanted to.
Yeah.
I always loved the sort of engineering side of it. But yeah, also my dad was very heavily into military stuff as well. He loved watching
Okay.
World War II films and westerns and all that kind of stuff. So I would have Action Man, which I think you can just see over my shoulder there.
Yeah.
Action Man and Action Force, all those kind of military kind of toys, which I loved playing with as well. And I guess, of course, like a lot of people from our age, Star Wars as well. I didn't have a huge Star Wars sort of toy set when I was younger, but I do remember a couple of friends at school who did have crazy sets of Star Wars toys. There's one guy, close friend, I love going around his house because his dad had converted his loft, so he basically had a playroom up in the loft.
Oh,
It was
wow.
a huge space, and I still remember it so vividly now. You go up the ladder, you look to one side, and it was a huge TCR track. Do you remember TCR? It was like Scalextric. It was a
Yes, vaguely, yeah.
But it had, unlike Scalextric at the time, it had these buttons on the controllers where you could swap lanes and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
That was pretty cool. And then on the other side was basically Star Wars. So
wow.
you had figures, you had vehicles, and I particularly remember the Millennium Falcon, playing with that because I never had that. I never had that when I was younger, and I always wanted it, but never got it for whatever reason. I even made cardboard versions of the Millennium Falcon, but I just loved that shit. But never got that. Never got that when I was a kid. But also, because this is the thing, right? My mind just goes and wanders all over. Very early on, and I think this is part of my sort of desire for engineering, I got heavily into games and electronics. And I remember one Christmas, I was still pretty young, I don't know, 7 or 8, I guess. And I got my very, very first electronic game. It was a handheld. In fact, I bought it again. I don't have my original.
Okay.
It was a Galaxy Invader 1000.
Oh,
and
wow.
It had this yellow case, a bit like a spaceship. Simple left to right joystick and a fire button. That's all the controls were, just left and right. And then LCD display, these aliens coming down. It's basically like a Space Invaders.
Yeah.
But this idea, because I'd always wanted with Lego, for example, to try and build something that was interactive. I was a bit mad when I was younger. I wanted to create a calculator in Lego.
Oh, okay.
And not just the model of a calculator, but an actual working calculator.
Yeah.
Because I figured in my mind it was possible to do. I never figured out how to do it. But so when I saw this electronic game for the first time, it was like my mind was blown. Absolutely, mind was blown. It's like I can interact with this screen. I can do stuff. And then I got heavily into things like the Commodore 64 and games and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a wide variety of stuff. I never really sort of stayed on one thing for too long.
With the Lego, was it the space Lego that you're into? Was it like the Lego City? Or because you didn't have much of a variety of Lego back in those days, did you? I mean, to be fair, they almost went bust, didn't they? At one point, they almost sort of went under.
I don't know how close they were, but I was utterly fascinated by Lego Technic.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So in fact, I've got some over here in the room.
Yeah.
But I've got I things like the car. There's a tractor, a forklift truck. There's a motorbike with a sidecar. All those kinds of things. The car in particular. I remember. I can't remember if it was Christmas or birthday, but I got this Lego Technic car. It's pretty big, and it's got suspension. It's got steering. It's got an actual gearbox with 3 gears. You can go from 1, 2, and 3 gears.
Okay.
It's got pistons that go up and down, and then it's got, again, technical now. It was unbelievable for a Lego set back back in the 80s or whatever it was,
Yeah,
even
yeah,
had a differential on the rear wheel. So when you go around a corner,
yeah.
the outer wheel can go faster than the inner wheel, basically.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
and all of this is in a Lego car. I mean, it's just,
Yeah,
for me, it was just mind blowing again. So
yeah.
yeah, that was it, and a little bit of space as well, but it was mostly the Technic stuff that I loved.
Okay, yeah. I mean, God, I mean, I look at some of the Lego. I mean, I can't remember what the cost was back in the 80s, but I know now it's pretty much fairly expensive. Do you collect any of the modern day sort of Lego Star Wars or the anything else? Or you not
No,
really into it?
I'm not really a collector of Lego.
Mm,
I looked back and found some of the kits I used to have.
yeah.
I do have the original Star Wars kits that came out
Oh,
in
okay. Yeah.
'99, which always
Yeah.
amazed me that it took till 1999 for Lego to basically get a Star Wars license and start
Mm,
producing Star Wars kits.
yeah.
So over 20 years later from the original film, Lego released their first Star Wars kit. So I've got an
Yeah.
X-wing and a Falcon, but I mean, when you look at them, they're quite primitive to today's Lego
Yeah.
kit.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, there's the advances that have been made with Lego is fantastic. I mean, you must have loved it when they opened up Legoland over here.
Yeah, I've been
Did
a
you
few.
did you go?
No, not that. I'm not that far from Legoland, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
it's not that far at all. But I've taken my son there. But to be honest,
Yeah.
it's quite. You grow out of that Legoland quite quickly. It's aimed quite
Yeah.
young
It
audience.
is definitely.
But I would love to go to Denmark and visit the
Okay.
home of Legoland.
Yeah.
That is on my bucket list, just to go to the Danish Legoland. That would be
Awesome.
pretty cool.
Awesome. What I did like as well is when you said you used your imagination and built your own Millennium Falcon. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, we did because we didn't have things like computer games as such in those days and stuff, or mobile phones. We were sort of allowed to use our imagination more, weren't we? So we built our own. I mean, I never had a Star Destroyer, but I just used like a cupboard or a space in a cupboard as a bridge for a Star Destroyer and stuff like that. So it's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah, that's
amazing
what we
what
did, right?
imaginations we had as a kid.
Yeah, and I don't. People say, "Oh, kids these days don't have imagination." I don't believe that. I'm sure they do have
Mm.
imagination, but it's so easy for kids today to just get engrossed in a game or whatever, right?
Is
Yeah,
that is that because you feel that they're not encouraged to use their imagination as much as what we were? Because
no,
it
I
is
think
there for them, it's all easy.
it's just too easy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like even us as adults, right? We can go and find any film or any program we want to watch and stream it like on the click of a finger, right? We've
Yeah.
got the internet. We have the internet. We can just go and browse the internet. We whatever we want to do now, right? It's all there at your fingertips. So I think it's just too easy to be distracted. Whereas back in
Mm.
our day, like I say, didn't have a phone, didn't even have internet for a lot of
No, right.
for most of my childhood, didn't have internet.
Yeah.
So we play on the streets, right, and or go to the local woods and on your BMX or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would create stuff. I don't think I was the only one that would sort of try and
Mm.
build things. You build
Oh, no, exactly. Yeah.
build bases for your figures or whatever. Build
Mm.
spaceships or whatever. Blue Peter, right? Blue Peter every week would
Yeah.
encourage you
Yeah.
to go and build stuff, right? So
Definitely. Definitely. Well, hearing you say that, I've got a massive apology to make. Today's generation of children, I'm very sorry for calling you lazy in previous streams. Okay. It's not laziness. You're just easily distracted. Misunderstanding on my part. I hold my hands up. Thank you very much. Moving on quickly. Right. What was your favorite toy line as a kid and why?
Oh, crikey, that's really tough because, like I say, I played with all sorts of things.
Okay, let me put it
Uh,
this way. You had one toy line that you really enjoyed it. Did you have just one particular, or did it move as you sort of went on and grew out of those toys
it
and moved
moved,
on to
yeah.
something
It
else?
would
Yeah,
continuously move, yeah. So, yeah, it would be Lego. It would be Star Wars. Obviously, is in there. Micronauts as well.
mm,
I loved Micronaut stuff, and I think that's partly because, well, one, it's space stuff, right? My brother was heavily into things like He-Man and all that.
okay,
I put all the put that under the category of fantasy kind of stuff. Whereas
mm,
I was much more into the military and space exploration, all that kind of stuff. So I loved Micronauts, and there's some great figures in Micronauts, and I was, from a very young age, I was fascinated by Japan as well and America.
yeah,
I I remember for a school project, and this is like, again, very young, and the teacher asked us to put together like a scrapbook for something you're really interested in that you.
Mm.
And I thought, well, I'll put one together for America. so
Oh, okay.
so and the only way of knowing about America when in the younger days was through TV, right? Through American series that come on the TV.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I created this scrapbook of all the American TV series, all the great cars and the Statue of Liberty, and then I think I had a page with like a stack of pancakes because I just thought all Americans
Okay.
ate pancakes for breakfast.
Not far wrong. Sorry, Americans, but yeah, not far wrong.
Yeah. So I had a fascination with America and Japan as well when I was
Yeah.
younger. I still haven't managed to get to Japan, but yeah, I love Micronauts, and also I love the fact that it's a little bit like Lego. It's got interchangeable parts, so you could have all these different vehicles and play sets that you could buy from Micronauts, and then you can just connect them all together in however you like and build. Again, use your imagination. So yeah, Micronauts,
Definitely.
and then honestly, it didn't take me long, and I think I just got hooked into computers and gaming.
Okay, cool. When did you stop playing with your toys, and when did you become a collector?
Wow, there's a huge gap between those two, believe it or not. I stopped playing my toys when I got into computing. It was as simple as that. And that must have been around 12, I guess.
Oh wow. Okay.
I
Yeah.
would say I got my dad bought a what was it, a Dragon 32. Now it wasn't for me, it was like he was
Yeah.
also interested in this stuff. This is in the 80s when home computing was just kicking off, and unlike the US and UK, there was a real big push, right, to back in the 80s to get people into computing and learn to program and all that kind of stuff. So my dad bought a Dragon 32, and I tried it one day, and I thought, this is amazing, this is fascinating. And I got the manual out, and I'd be writing a program, and I was completely hooked. And I never looked back. I just never went back to playing with action figures.
Wow.
When you could have this interactive thing on this screen, and you could play these games and stuff, it was just like, well, it's an action figure. Do I want to play with that, or do I want to play on the computer? So I got completely hooked on the computing, and that really was the end of, I think, all of the kind of Star Warsy bits. And not that I wasn't interested in Star Wars anymore,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I just didn't play with the figures and stuff. And it wasn't until 8 or 9 years ago that I got into collecting this stuff. So
Oh wow. Okay. Not long then.
I'm not one of those guys that's been collecting toys for all their life. I got back into it because of my son, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, so he got heavily into cars, and I've always been into cars as well. But he somehow himself found that he loved cars right from a young age, and he one day he came to me and he just said, "Oh, NASCAR's good, isn't it? That's really good." And he started talking to me about all these NASCAR drivers and tracks, and I'm thinking, how does he know about NASCAR? How does he know all these drivers? And he said, "Oh, I found a channel on Sky, and I just love watching it." And from that, he wanted cars. He wanted all these sort of model cars and stuff. So I started taking him to these toy fairs, the sort of car and train toy fairs.
Yeah.
And buying, these racing cars and all these kinds of stuff. And I thought, oh, this is quite cool. And at the time, it's not that I didn't like, I've always been into kind of old things and repairing them. So whether it be furniture or actual real cars, I've always had a desire to pick them up and restore them. And as I was going around these toy fairs, it's like, oh look, there's some of those old Star Wars figures I used to play with. That's pretty cool. And there's like, oh look, there's a guy selling Action Man over there. Oh, that's awesome. So my son would be picking up a car, and I'd pick up an Action Man and a few Star Wars figures, and it's like, and this is cool. And then I see a few knackered ones, and I go, oh, I wonder if I can repair those, like I'm repairing furniture or whatever. And I just started picking them up and repairing them, and that's how it started, really. And And
Wow.
it kind of grew pretty quick.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? It's once you dip your toe in that, it is quite addictive, isn't it? So talking about toy fairs and that, what would be your preference to toy fair? What toy fair anywhere in the world? What toy fair would you like to go to, or convention? You could go anywhere in the world.
Well, there's one that always appears on YouTube channels. I think it's called the Kane County Toy Fair in the States.
Okay.
Which is held over several days.
Mm.
And it's huge. I mean, it looks, to me, I think it's probably the toy fair in the States. I don't think there's any bigger toy fair. I've seen it on Justice Curry's channel, and I think Ed's Retro Geek Out, I think he went there last year or a couple of years ago. It looks amazing. It's held over several like huge buildings. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I think on the first day, there's even a sale of stuff in the car park. So you just go up to people's car boot. It's like a car boot you go up and just pick up stuff. And
what state was that in? Did you say?
I don't. It's called the Kane County Toy Fair. I don't know exactly where it is in the state.
Right.
I just know about it, and I would love to go there whenever I see it. But there are some pretty good fairs here in the UK. Like I say, we met at Sandown. Sandown's actually one of my favourites. I guess the key fair in the UK is the NEC in Birmingham, the centre of the country. So that's quite good because that attracts collectors from both the north and the south. So that's always a good one to go to. And then there's a few smaller ones. I don't know if have you been to the Kempton Toy Fair?
I haven't. It is up the road. I only found out about this. I think it was the last time I went to Sandown, which I think was the beginning of was it December or November, one of the two. And I was talking to some guy who was running a stall, and he travels quite a way and he stays down. And I often ask him how he's getting on and stuff like that. And he said it's not too well. We didn't do too great at this one, so you're not going to do it anymore. But you did mention the Kempton one, So I would like to get there at some point this year. I think for me this year now, my next big focal point will be Celebration. Up until that point, I don't think we're going to be sort of like going to any toy fairs. We're just going to wait to Celebration, then probably wait till the end of the year when they start kicking in again. But I haven't been, but I would like to go. I would like to go.
Yeah, it's fairly small, but it's really improved recently, just because the guys such as Empire Toys and Andy's Toys and Models, Dan Plastic or Plastic Dan, I can't remember his name, Robbo Toys. There's a whole community of sellers in the Southeast here, and they've all started stalling at Kempton. So traditionally it was more of a sort of toy car and sort of train fair, but now it's a lot of 80s and 80s.
Wasn't that what Sandown started off? Because I know there's a lot of toy cars and train sets there and train stuff for sale and whatnot at Sandown.
Yeah, I think they all did, right? Because if you think back, they've been around. Some of these have been running for years. So if you think back to the sort of previous generation, where for them, their childhoods were toy trains and all these Corgi and Dinky cars. So that's how all those fairs started. So they've got quite a tradition, and of course, now we've got this new generation coming through, and has come through, and so action figures have come through those fairs. So I think I've always had luck at Sandown. I always find good stuff there. NEC, NEC is not my lucky hunting ground. No. But
did you go last? Did you go not Boxing Day, the day after Boxing Day, the 27th? Did you go to that one? You did,
yeah. That's become a tradition really for me to go there. But that was the last one, wasn't it, for the Christmas NEC Toy Fair? So, which is a real shame. Yeah, it was going to.
I knew that there were. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, that's it. I knew it was going to stop completely. Then I heard that they were going to do another two or something like that next year. But I didn't realise the Christmas one had stopped. That's a shame. Yeah,
it's somewhere else. I don't know if it's Bolton or something. I think they moved the Christmas one to another fair, which is a shame. Yeah. So, but you mentioned Celebration. I'm looking forward to Celebration. I've never been to
You
Celebration.
going?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay. We went in 2016, and I was fairly overwhelmed. I mean, I've been to London Film and Comic Con and stuff like that, but I mean, the one year we went to London Film and Comic Con, they had Carrie Fisher and Stan Lee there at the same time. It was packed. It was packed. You could not move, and it just felt uncomfortable.
Right.
And then we went to Celebration, and again, it was so big. It was quite overwhelming, and I don't feel that myself and well, I know my wife probably feels the same. We didn't we enjoyed it, but we didn't embrace the experience as much as we probably should have done. So I'm looking forward to it this year. Plus, we're going to be meeting up with like Scuba Pete and Gary Moore and the likes yourself and other people that are going to be going there. So that's going to be another bonus for it. So what are you looking forward to the most for going? Just being there, for seeing people, or just enjoying the whole experience?
I think it's just the experience. As I say, I've never been to a Celebration before, and as you say, there's going to be a few of us going. In fact, Scuba's coming over right from the States, of course, and
That's it. Yeah.
He's going to be staying. He's actually going to be staying with us here for a couple of nights before the
Awesome.
Celebration, and then we're taking a trip up to the Leicester Vintage Toy Shop.
Awesome.
So I've taken that week off actually leading up to.
Oh,
Easter.
okay, cool.
So I'm really looking forward to that week, and yeah, I've no idea what's going to happen at Celebration. I do fear it's going to be very, very busy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just going to soak it all up really and see what happens. We're staying. We're going to be there on the Friday and Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Friday.
Likewise, we're there. We've got tickets for Friday and Saturday. Have you got any photo shoots booked? Any autographs booked?
No, I'm not going to. No, I'm not going to. I'm not a photograph hunter, autograph hunter, but even if I was, I think the prices would put me off, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we went in 2016, and we were both fortunate enough to have met Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill, and for me, that was the big highlight, because these are people that you've watched growing up with Star Wars as a kid and stuff like that, and to see them there in person was absolutely fantastic. As much as I like the sequels, the prequels, and other bits and bobs of Star Wars, I don't think there's any real big draw for me to say, right, yeah, I'm going to part that amount of money. I mean, even Hayden Christensen, I'm like, I don't know, or Hayden Christensen, should I say?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I mean, I think if Mark Hamill was there, then I probably would try and get his autograph.
Yeah.
If Harrison Ford was there, I would try and get his autograph. But but it it'd have to be one of the big stars, really. And
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm too late. I'm too late to try and meet all these people, because a lot of them passed away now, unfortunately. So
yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah.
I mean, I was delighted when we went to Echo that Ken Cooley was there, because he was supposed to have done like a signing down in Croydon somewhere, and I was going to go up that day, but he didn't go, and apparently it wasn't a big do sort of thing, and I got into contact with BOE because he lives around that way, so
right.
He went, and then he messaged me and said no, he's not there. So I just there's no point going, sort of thing. So we didn't go, and so when I saw him up at Echo, I was absolutely delighted, because now I've got his autograph as Piet, I've got Captain Needa, and I've got General Veers. So I'm really happy with those three. The only person that I'm not going to be able to get is that Michael Shard, because he passed away a long time ago.
Yeah,
he played as Malozzel, but other than that, it's mainly original trilogy characters that I've got, or actors that I've got as for autographs wise. But the prices are just so expensive now. That's the off-putting thing, isn't it?
Exactly. Maybe if it was Mark Hamill, maybe you would think about £200, but I just can't. I can't justify it for the actors and characters. I mean, Echo. I think that was very reasonable. I think I didn't get any signatures, but that's what you expect, right?
Well, that's what they used to be.
Yeah,
that's what you can pay £15-20. You get a photograph, or not a photograph. You get an autograph, and then you could get a selfie or something like that, and it wouldn't cost you any extra. But now it's just gone absolutely. I mean, these last 20 odd years have just gone. It's just the prices have gone so high, and these conventions are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I've noticed it's good fun. It's good fun, but it is getting expensive, and it could start pricing people out.
Yeah, well, it is very expensive just to book the tickets for Celebration and the hotel. As soon as they announced that the Celebration was happening here in London,
Yeah.
and you go, as soon as that was announced, and you go and find any hotel rooms around there, they're all extortionate. So
well, it's over the Easter weekend as well, isn't it? So they've
Yep.
got the double whammy of that. They probably licking their lips and loving that.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But
All about the money.
I'm gonna see what it's like. Like I
Mm.
say, soak up the experience, and even if I just see some people that I recognise,
Yeah.
celebrities, I'll be happy.
Oh yeah. Listen, I'm with you. I just think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Like I say, there's going to be people there that we know in the community now. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. More so this time around, I think, than back in 2016. So, moving on, what would you say is the most unusual piece in your collection?
Oh, crikey! Unusual.
Mm.
No, it's hard because I'm probably used to seeing all this stuff now. What's unusual? I don't know. Unusual. I don't know if I have unusual things. What? There must be some unusual stuff here. I
Well,
got.
you're probably sitting there thinking, but none of my stuff's unusual. It's all good, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like to pick out what I'm trying to do here is create almost like a museum, really, focusing
yeah,
on 70s and 80s. I have
okay,
very few things in this room that are actually 90s and beyond. Very few things.
yeah.
But I would say there's some Japanese bits that are quite unusual.
That's what I was looking for, the Japanese bits, because I've never been into the Japanese
Let
toy
me.
line. So,
I've got a roaming camera, so I can just show you some shelves
oh,
if you like.
okay, let's
If that's all right.
get you up there. Of course, it is.
There we go. So let me just because it's over here.
Yeah,
So yeah, is that? I don't know what the lighting's like, but yeah,
that's fine. That's fine.
that's cool. Yeah, so basically
Wow.
we've got um I love all this Japanese stuff. So a lot of this is from 70s, maybe even earlier actually.
Yeah.
Those like that die cast Godzilla there, can you see? The green one?
Yep. Yep.
That's old Godzilla there and some of his friends as well. Then we've got this kind of pepper pot guy pulling a hot nuts kind of stall behind him. That's pretty unusual. You don't see that every day.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
then this kind of
yeah.
fire hydrant guy. So these are all like Popey or Poppy,
Yeah.
Japanese 1970s. And then
Mm.
coming down, you've got a lot of Myconauts kind of things here. There's Myconauts Alien there, that purple guy.
Yeah.
And then yeah, you got Baron Karza there, the black guy with the red dots. All of these have got
Okay.
firing missiles, of course.
Yeah.
And then you've got this giant robot here as well at the back.
Wow.
And oh crikey, I can't remember the guy. I would like to do a video on this guy. I can't remember his name now.
Mm.
But he splits apart and turns into a spaceship and everything. So that's a really
Okay.
cool figure. All these kind of motorbikes and stuff. And then you've got Henshin cyborgs. There's like a Henshin Jaguar there. I don't know if you saw the toy shop on tour with Jonathan Ross.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah. So this Jaguar is part of the Henshin cyborgs stuff that he had.
Okay. Yeah.
Huge
Yeah.
amount of stuff there that he had in his
Wow.
collection was just unbelievable. So yeah, some of those Japanese bits.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so there's
Wow.
there's just bits all over in this room. It's
Yeah.
I've cramped. I'm running out of space now. Oh, hang on.
Yes. Yeah. I know that feeling.
Oh, hang on. Just gonna press the right key. Here we go. I'm back.
There you go.
Lost you there. Yeah.
That is
So
absolutely fantastic. That is phenomenal. I mean, so you were saying that when you was younger, you had a fascination for anything Japanese or Japan, the States. Is that where your sort of, like, I'd say love, but is that where your interest for those Japanese toys come from? From your fascination with Japan?
yeah,
Back
and
when you
yeah,
were a kid?
indeed. Yeah, fascination of Japan, and also some of those. You know, some of those I had as a kid. So
Oh
some
wow.
of the Micronaut stuff, in particular, and yeah, so it's
Mm.
just spread from there. And obviously, you know, things like Godzilla and what have you. You know, it's just a fascination for that too. So I always wanted
Yeah.
to try and pick out some of the
Mm.
something from Japan that was related to Godzilla. And I always like, for me, I like all the vintage stuff. I like the history of some of these toys, and
Mm.
so that's why I always go for kind of 70s and 80s stuff, because I like to do the research and and track the sort of progression and of toy lines through the ages.
Yeah.
So I've got things like $6 Million. I'm just looking around now. So $6 Million Man and Evel Knievel, kind of real staples of the 70s there, and moving into kind of 80s stuff like Rambo and A-Team, all those kinds of things.
So I was going to say, with your collection, what would you say what toy would you say dates back the furthest in your collection? So what would say timeline wise the earliest piece be? Not when you've actually got it, but from what era?
Yeah, it's probably 60s, and I would say I got some James Bond pieces. I've got a Sean Connery James Bond gun that's probably from the 60s. Not too much. I don't think I've got anything earlier than that. I probably do somewhere, but I've got a really old Lego system box. That's that may well be 60s or even 50s potentially. I'm not sure how old that is. But yeah, mostly it's focused on 70s and 80s.
Yeah. So what is the fascination then with the 70s and the 80s for you in particular?
I think it's the golden age of toys. I really do. It's such an explosion right around that time in terms of TV, cartoons, advertising. Even it wasn't until I think the early 80s that you couldn't even advertise all these children's toys to kids. So it was a real explosion then, and also I think those are the times when all these properties were being invented, right? There was a lot of invention. There was the genesis of a lot of these things. Masters of the Universe. That people sometimes forget that it was born back in the 80s. It's still going strong, and obviously Star Wars and stuff like that. But there were so many toy lines that came out, crazy toy lines, and and weird ones as well, like Tron, for example. Tron back in '82. Tron had a toy line from Tomy, which I love. It's only a small toy line. It's got a couple of light cycles and some figures, translucent figures. That's it. But it's an awesome toy line. Karate. I'm just looking around. Karate Kid.
Yeah.
But all these properties were invented during these 2 decades. So for me, it's the golden age, and and these were toys. That's the thing for me. When back in the 70s and 80s, when parents are buying these for their children, they were buying them for their children to play as toys.
Absolutely.
So what I'm looking around now is are toys that were made for playing as toys. So and I'm always fascinated by the designs of them, how they're made, all that kind of stuff. So and that's the thing right nowadays. Obviously you can get Masters of the Universe stuff, you can get Star Wars modern stuff, but they are made. I don't think they're being made for toys, right? They're made for us as collectors. So it doesn't quite have the same attraction to me. So that's why I like this stuff, and I like finding it as well. It's to know that Godzilla figure, I think, is actually from the 60s. That Pokey one. Sorry, Bullmark. It's Bullmark that made that Godzilla. That is actually from the 60s. So to know that was around in the 60s and has somehow survived and has got a history to it. I love that. I just love that side of it.
For me, it's interesting that you say that, really, because I think we all know it when I'm going to say this, but I think a lot of the toy companies now are playing on that era's nostalgia. Hence the reason why we're getting the vintage collection in Star Wars, the Black Series. You've got Master of the Universe, you've got the Origins figures coming back out, because a lot of people probably haven't got the original figures, or they're in bad nick, and you see something new on the line and you think, wow, that's this is what we had as a kid, and they're pulling on the nostalgia strings for sure. So, and again, it's interesting to think that if that wasn't the case, these companies say yes, these toys are made for kids, but it's not kids that are collecting them, because like you said early on, you were into computers and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Once you sort of like you could do interact on a computer and stuff like that, and that was way back when, you know, you're 12
In the
years old.
80s, yeah.
It's not going to be any different for kids these days then, is it really? Because you've got like Xbox, PlayStation, all these interactive games that they're going to be playing on. They'd rather do that, because you can chat to people all over the world, and he's like we're doing now with internet. They're doing that, and a lot of kids aren't actually playing with toys anymore and collecting action figures.
Yeah, I think that is the case. I think probably back in the 80s, I think we were probably playing with toys till maybe 12, 13, 14, maybe.
Yeah.
I think these days kids grow out of the sort of traditional toys much earlier, much earlier. That's replaced with either their phone or console or whatever it might be, and that's certainly the case for my son. My son, he grew out of toys very, very quickly. It was only really cars that he kind of held on to, but he just got into gaming and consoles and BMX or
Do you think there's an embarrassment with this generation with playing with toys? It's like, oh god, I can't be seen playing with like figures and toys and stuff like that. You know,
they want to grow up.
Got to be the cool kid on my phone or the whatever. Yeah,
I think they want to grow up so quickly nowadays, but I'm not surprised, because I think they're at a very young age you're exposed to so much now. I mean, back in the 80s, it took a while, right, to kind of get exposed to all this stuff. Whereas today, it's so easy to find out anything you want now in the world, that that the mystery goes very quickly, doesn't it? I think as a child now. So yeah.
Well, it's like I can remember when I was at school, I used to have to go to the library to find information, look through books, read through books. You didn't have it there hand and foot. And it like you said earlier, everything is so easy, and now you've got the internet, which you can just click of a button, and the information's there. And there's so many influencers as well. And whether it's for the right reason or for the wrong reason, kids are loving this modern day era with influencers and stuff like that. And I think it's a shame personally, because I this is why I like watching people like G.I. Joe. I mean, these are grown men our age, maybe a few years younger, and they're just play motion. Bob Hanson, another one, and I think there is a charm to that, because when I saw their video for the first time back in, I think it was 2020, and I was like blown away by it. I was like, wow, these are grown men doing exactly what I used to do at probably 12, 13 years old, playing with toys and stuff like that, and they don't care. And I think that's a fantastic attitude to have, for sure.
Yeah, you're talking about those guys. I think they've got I saw a preview video that they released.
Yeah, coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, and it looked like they were replicating sort of the Top Gun kind of style.
Yeah. No, it's so cool.
It looks really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Moving on. Do you have a Grail piece in your collection that you would like in your collection?
One that I would still like to get.
One that you would still like to get, yeah.
Well, there's probably a few actually. So the one that I probably, well, it's not even one, it's actually a set that I probably will never get to. I would love to have the first 12 Star Wars figures on Star Wars card. I would love to have that as a collection, because that to me is so significant, right? I remember when I was younger, every day I walked to school. So this is something like, talking about differences between now and then.
Yeah.
So I would walk to school, and it was quite a long walk. It's probably like 2.5 miles or whatever.
Wow.
And I was doing this when I was, 7 or 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I look back now and I think I would never let my son do that walk, but my parents let me do this. But on the way, I would walk through this fairly small shopping centre. Well, it was not like a big town or city or anything, just a sort of local shopping centre. But it had the most incredible toy shop. It was for the shopping centre. This toy shop was just enormous, and I clearly remember this toy shop because I walked past it every day to school and then on the way home again as well. And I can remember it. You go in, they had a huge window as well on the front, and there'd always be different displays in there. And you go in the door. I was on the left-hand side of the shop, and as soon as you walked in, the wall on the left-hand side was Star Wars. So they
Yeah.
obviously, thinking back now, of course, they put all the Star Wars stuff at the front of the shop. It was the big seller, right? Of course. And it would just be, like those photos you see now
Yeah.
of the old shops with just a wall of carded figures and stuff. That's what it was like. And at the back of the shop was the remote control cars. I don't know if you ever played with those at all. Tamiya, or the Tamiya kind of remote.
Okay, yeah, I know the ones you mean. Yeah.
Which is something else. So my dad bought one of those, and we built one of those as a project, and I love playing with that too. And I've got one down behind me, which I managed to find, one of the ones that we had. And I go into this shop and I see this Star Wars stuff, and I would just love to get the Star Wars cards, those first 12 Star Wars cards, and kind of have them hanging up on the wall or something. And it would just remind me of going into that shop every day, basically.
Would you keep them as they are, or would you get them graded?
Oh, there's a good question. I'm probably going to upset a few people now. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of grading, to be honest.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Now, and I'll give you my reason, because people would just be shouting at the screen right now.
Stop shouting at the screen, people.
I would put them in acrylic for sure. I would put them in acrylic to protect them, and I think they do look quite nice in acrylic. I am being a bit hypocritical here, because right behind me is I can't point to the right place. Right behind me is some Indiana Jones cards, and they are graded, but they're only graded because I bought them like that.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah.
If I bought them ungraded, they would just be in acrylics. I'm being a little bit hypocritical here. I do have some graded items, but the reason I'll tell you why I don't like grading for figures and cards anyway. For toys, for comics, I can sort of understand it.
Yeah.
For the reason I don't like it is because there's this expectation that the price of that item triples, basically. And this is the thing I don't like about grading. It artificially increases the price of all these vintage items. I can find a card, and I can look at it and I can gauge what I think the quality of it is and pay a price for it. If that card was then graded and then sold to me, the price would be triple what it was. Now, yes, as a buyer, you can say, "Oh, well, it's been graded, therefore it's a proper card. It's not fake. It's not Lucre or anything like that, and it's a condition grade 85 or whatever." But I think there's a lifetime to that grading. These things don't stay the same even inside the box. Things can break. Things can get damaged even inside the box. So I don't know. I'm not a fan of it, primarily because I think it artificially increases prices.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I think people. I think I'm generalizing. Not everybody does this, but I'm sure there are some people who, especially for loose figures. Yes, you can display these things, but you don't have to have it graded. You can have it nicely put into an acrylic case without grading.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
but I'm sure there are some people out there who buy things and grade them and just sell them on, really, to try and make a profit. I don't know. I'm not convinced.
No. I mean, some everybody's different. That's the good thing about this community and about collecting. There's no right way of doing it. There's no wrong way of doing it. And I respect people that collect in certain ways. I mean, I would never dream of telling anybody how to collect. Yeah. That's for sure. I do have a few items that I have had graded, and it's not. I'm not going to benefit from any of this financially when I'm gone. I don't care what happens to it. I'm not going to be here, am I? But if it can leave a little bit of money, like for the wife, she can sell it on, or the kids, or whatever. I'm not going to benefit from any of this. I'm sitting here in this room, looking at this collection, and this is for me. This is what I like. I don't buy to sell. Yes, I have moved stuff on. Some people they buy stuff and then to be able to afford to get another piece, they have to move something on because it's not, you know, they've not outgrown it, but they think, oh well, you know, I'll move on from that. I'll move that on and get something else in. But you know, these. I had a comment the other day on my. I did got the Sky Striker, and someone said he bought 5 of them, and he's looking forward to profiting off the off selling them on. So if you're watching, mate, good job, well done. And I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't reply. I mean, what you know, that's, I can't promote that sort of stuff. You know, people are free to do what they want, but I don't agree with that. It's, you know,
people can do what they want, and I know I watch YouTubers. I watch Action Figure Grader, and I love his collection. I think it looks amazing. I think it looks amazing in all the acrylic, but I think it's interesting because I do think of myself as a fairly sort of new collector, even though I've been collecting for maybe 8-9 years. I still think of myself as a new collector compared to some of the veterans that are out there. And I do think you go through cycles and maturity as you collect. You know, when you start out, you kind of, I just scoop up whatever I can. I'm just going to find what I can, try and build a collection. You know, I don't, you know, whatever it might be, whatever line I don't, you know, it's like I'm just going to collect whatever I can. And then you start refining. Like after a while, you go, crikey, I've got no money or I've got no space left. So you have to start refining, and then you think about, well, what is it I'm going to focus on? And okay, maybe I'll dig into that a little deeper and what have you. And then some people, you know, they've collected all the sort of mainstream stuff, and then they start looking at bootlegs and variants and all this other stuff. And then others start grading, and maybe I just haven't got to the point in my collecting life where I go, you know what, maybe I should start grading. But that's where I am right now. And
no, if it's not for you, it's not for you, Dave. I mean, you know, it's just one of those things, isn't it? It's, you know,
people collect how they want to collect. I've got a real thing about gatekeepers in our community at the moment. I see it all over the place, and it really annoys me. It really frustrates me that there are people who think they can go around telling other people what they can and can't do. You know, what they can collect or can't collect, or how they can collect, or even now it seems who you can be friends with. You know, if you're friends with them, then I'm not. Yeah, it's like, come on, guys, this is we're all adults here.
It's toys at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean, it's. I mean, to be fair, on the whole, like I say, I'm new to this. You know, I've not been doing it too long myself, especially like channel wise and stuff. But on the whole, I think the community is great. You know, you're going to get your idiots no matter what you do. At the end of the day, innit? I mean, you know, so that's how that is. But
before YouTube, I was a sole collector, right? I didn't know anyone else who collected this kind of stuff. I didn't know anyone. I mean, I go to toy fairs and I see there are other people doing this kind of stuff, but I just didn't know anyone. And actually starting YouTube has really opened that up. I mean, it's amazing who you meet all over the world as well. I mean, it's fantastic.
It is. I'm loving it.
Yeah. And as I say, great community of people. There's no doubt about it. There's a great community. And we're all in it together, right? We're all trying to help each other. We're all collectors at the end of the day. We've all got this shared passion. Some of it, and of course, it would be really boring if we all collected the same things. So we all have our own unique aspects and views on what to collect. But yeah, there's unfortunately, like in all walks of life, right? There's always some pockets where you just go,
just avoid them. So moving on. What is your most prized piece in your collection? If you had to get out quick, you think I'll better take that, other than your wife and kids, obviously.
I don't know. There's so many things that honestly I could just rebuy. Probably the things that just remind me really very much of.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be monetary value. It could be sentimental value.
Yeah, I think it would be sentimental things, really. I like this Action Man up here. With the Canadian Mountie, Royal Canadian Mountie.
Yeah.
That was my dad's favorite Action Man outfit. I did a video on that. And yeah, so I probably would take that. I'd probably also take the Tamiya car that's down behind me. And I don't know what else I would take. I mean, I don't have any of my childhood items. If I had childhood items,
Okay, that's interesting.
I
Yeah.
would obviously take those, but I don't have
Yeah.
any of them. It's funny, isn't it? When you're sort of younger and you're growing up, I never thought to keep any of my stuff. My parents never thought to keep any of it either. So yeah, it just went. I don't know where it went. It just went, and yeah. So I don't. I'm sad that I don't have any of my childhood stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I probably would. Yeah, I probably sort of grab the things that are sentimental and reminders of my dad. So that's probably what I would take. And there are a few more expensive items that I probably would grab as well. I just go, oh, quick, here's a fire, quick, I'll grab that.
So any of the pieces in your collection, are they hard to find, or can you find them fairly easily?
No, there are some hard to find pieces. Some of the Rambo figures are hard to find. There's a series 1 of Rambo, and then there's a series 2, which is much harder to find. There's 6 figures in series 2, and it's taking me pretty much 6 years or more.
I always found that fascinating with Rambo, is the fact that the film was an 18, so you couldn't watch it as a kid, yet they released toys for kids. I don't. Yeah. It's just.
Well, and Rambo's not the only example. I mean, another classic example is Alien, right? So let me just roam. If I can just roam again.
Of course you can. But you're on a big screen. There you are. Look at that.
There we go. I'm roaming. So up here, this is, why on earth did they release this guy? Wow. Alien, 18 inches tall. 1970, when was it? The film, I think, 1979.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yep.
So that came out in 1979. Oh, we'll get back.
Wow.
And
where you going? There you are.
I'm back. Yeah, 1979 that came out.
Wow.
Alien.
Oh no, and that family-friendly movie.
Yeah, that family-friendly movie, and they had to withdraw it. They did have to withdraw the.
Oh, did they really?
They did, because it scared the living daylight. Basically, it's got a glow-in-the-dark head under the dome, and sometimes when I open the door in here, because I have the window all sealed off, so I don't have
yeah.
But sometimes in the evening, I open the door, I look in, I can see this glowing alien, and it's like, and I can just imagine kids being scared.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's that. But things like Rambo, the reason the toys came out is because they had spin-off cartoons.
Yeah, again, I don't get that.
Yeah, so they had a Rambo cartoon, which obviously has the main character Rambo in there, but he's more of a kind of hero in the cartoon. And then they have all these other supporting characters. They do have Colonel Troutman.
Yeah,
but most of the other characters are invented for the cartoon. So the figures from the Rambo line are characters of the cartoon.
Okay, yeah.
I'm trying to think of other examples. Police Academy. Police Academy is another film children really shouldn't have been watching at the time, but they created a cartoon. And then there's a Police Academy toy line, which Camilla DCB June, as you might know her, she collects the Police Academy figures because she loved the films back then.
Yeah.
So there's loads of figures that have come out for properties that really should have been adult only, but it's only through the introduction of a cartoon that you really get those figures.
So, I was going to say, they wouldn't have based the figures on the film. I forgot about the cartoon, but that's, I just...
Yeah, but even so, you still have Rambo with all his machine guns and artillery.
Absolutely, It's crazy.
We since the 50s or whatever, kids have had toy military figures, right? They've had little plastic...
Well, true.
With guns. So no one ever thought that it was bad for children to play with toys that had guns.
Well, do you remember you used to have the old cowboy guns and the bows and arrows for the Indians and stuff like that, didn't you? And the guns where you press the trigger and those kind of things. They don't sell those now, do they?
No, you put the caps in them. You remember that when you put the cap in them? Yeah. So I've got I have a couple of James Bond guns that are cap guns, basically.
Okay.
No, I've got like the oh, what was the? Can't remember the name of the gun. My memory is terrible, by the way. But yeah, Sean Connery's gun. I can't remember the name of the gun. This famous gun with a silencer and everything. So yeah, I've got, you have that, and that had caps, and then
Yeah.
I've got the Moonraker gun. Now that's a fantasy gun, so that's not so bad,
Yeah.
perhaps. But yeah, but yeah, it's like, for decades, people didn't, adults didn't think, should children really be playing with toys with guns? It's like, I don't know.
Well, to be fair, back in those days, we didn't think much at all by the sound of it, did we? Compared to today's world. I mean, goodness me, it does make me wonder how we managed to survive this long. It really does. But there you are. That's another conversation, Dave. Right. What was your deciding factor into starting your YouTube channel? What gave you the idea to do that, and why?
Yeah, good question. When I started the channel, like a lot of people during the lockdown, but I was working through lockdown, so I had my collection room was actually downstairs, and
Okay.
decided that actually it was only a small little space, and I'd run out of space, so I decided to pack up my collection, and I thought, right, I'm gonna move things around, and this room is going to become the room, and I thought, well, maybe it'd be interesting if people wanted to sort of see me put the room together and see the collection being built. So and it was during lockdown. And I thought, well, maybe people are bored. Yeah, if people, I was in a lucky situation that I could carry on working, but there were other people that weren't. Maybe we were so lucky, and I thought, well, maybe if I put a channel out and just show some of these vintage toys, maybe someone will get some enjoyment out of it during lockdown. I don't know. So that's why I started. And I've been following a number of channels. I've been following Toy Ploy and Retro Blasting and Analog Toys, all the key ones for quite a while. Before that, ever since I started collecting 8 or 9 years ago, I tried to hunt down YouTubers with the same interest, just to see what was going on in this world. So really lockdown, and I call myself a reluctant YouTuber, because I enjoy it, but
Yeah.
I can tell you, after every video, I question, should I carry on? And
Oh,
Luke from Reynolds Reviews will tell you the pain that I go through.
Oh, really?
But I enjoy the whole kind of community aspect of it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy. It's kind of added a new dimension to my collecting. I really like doing I really like filming the restorations that I do, and putting those on video and releasing them. But filming a restoration and editing that and putting something together, it's quite a lot of time and effort. So that's why I after one of those, I think, oh, do I do that again, or do I just pump out a load of shorts?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, I had the same boat as you. I mean, when I first did my first edit, it was like, wow, that's taken ages, absolutely ages, and you don't realize how time consuming it can be,
No,
But
no.
no, it's enjoyable, and
Yeah, it is time consuming, and I think of myself as fairly creative. I like, I think I've always been creative. My job is creative and stuff, and I like to restore stuff and build stuff, just as an outlet. And for me, creating videos is just another way of being creative, another outlet.
yeah,
So I really enjoy the whole process of, sometimes I script things and sometimes I don't. And I've done scripted videos in the past. I did one. In fact, I did one on the Rambo figures, a scripted video, and I really enjoy that whole process of scripting it and then coming up with what's the story going to be and how am I going to
yeah,
film this and editing it and the whole audio. I kind of I go a bit geeky on the editing and the audio stuff and learning about the the video editing software and all that kind of stuff. I enjoy all aspects of that, and then releasing it and then doing the feedback on comments. But like I say, it takes a lot of time
yeah, it does.
and effort as well. My only free time really is either the weekend or an evening. And honestly, I finish work and the last thing I want to do is anything on a video. So I made a decision a very long time ago with my channel. I release a video when a video is ready. I
No,
don't
fair
I
enough.
don't release on a schedule. I don't do any of that. I release when it's ready, and it's done me okay so far. I'm quite pleased with the progress on the channel. So yeah, I love it.
No, it's cool. I mean, like so everybody's different. The guy that I was speaking to last week, Adam, he, you know, I said to him, well, I've said before as well, I'm fairly lucky because I do shift work. So in the mornings, I have the time to film and edit and get a video done before I go to work, and because I've got the time to do it.
Yeah.
And then when I get back from work, I finish at like say 1:45. So by the time I'm home, it's like 2:00. It gives me then the time and the freedom to do it. I mean, if I did a regular 9 to 5 job, you're guaranteed I probably wouldn't be doing as many videos as I'm doing. And it's good because, like, you know, I've got this series which is, you know, I'm really enjoying, so that's helping the channel and stuff like that, and it's getting to meet people like yourself and speak to people like yourself. And yeah, you know, this is the easy part. This is just the chatting. This is the easy part. It's getting, you know, trying to get people. And but yeah, no, it's all right. But you know, so we all bring something different to the table, definitely. And I've got a lot of time for people that actually do videos, because, you know, now sitting on this side of the fence, I can see how time consuming it can be, how stressful it can be, but then you get your rewards by it being fun, and you meeting lots of different people as well. And like you say, it opens the community up for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And there are so many good friends, you know, that are running great channels, and of course all the personalities come through, right, in each of those channels. So we all do things in a different way, and that's all part of the fun of it. But yeah, for me, it's another dimension to the collecting, and because it does take some time away from the collecting. That might sound a bit strange, right? Because my interest was in collecting this stuff, and I would spend time researching and trying, you know, working out where I can find some of these pieces, and then when I got it, I'd maybe clean it up or do a bit of a restoration, and then I'd catalog and I'd display it and all this kind of stuff. Now with the video creating, I can't put as much time into the collecting, and it's kind of trying to balance all of that, which is, to be honest, is probably not a bad thing, because I've got no space. I literally have more items now than I can fit in this room. So I've got to the point where I've got things lying around, which I've come to a crossroads where I've got to think, what do I do now with the collection? Do I now focus and narrow down maybe some of the stuff that I collected? There's God knows how many different lines I've got in here. There must be 60 different lines in this room, from all sorts of different toy companies and stuff. So do I focus, or do I just carry on what I'm doing? And
that's the problem, isn't it? That's a big decision to make, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Big decision. Right, we've just gone past the hour, but that's fine. What we're going to do is I've got 2 more questions for you. So what gives you that toy collecting buzz?
Oh, wow. Definitely the hunt. There's no doubt about that. And also, you know, finding new stuff. New stuff. You know, after a while, when you've been doing it for, you know, 8-9 years, I still consider myself a new collector. But after a while, you've kind of come across quite a lot of this stuff, right? You know, it's like oh yeah, there's Masters of the Universe. I've seen that before. Oh look, there's a A-Team. Oh, I've seen that before. So I'm always looking for new things that I haven't come across before, and that's a thrill, right? That's a buzz. And yeah, it's just that hunt and trying to find items, find accessories. I'm mostly a loose collector. I've got some carded things. I've got a carded wall up here, but mostly a loose collector. But I don't always try and complete the whole line. But for the figures I do collect, I do like to complete the figures. So I like to have all the accessories for a figure.
Okay.
So yeah, it's, you know, completing a figure and that you've been trying to complete for years is you know, all part of the buzz. And now with the YouTube stuff, it's just the thrill of knowing that there's other collectors out there, and it's, you know, and sharing all those stories and interacting with them. You know, that that for me has added a huge new dimension.
Yeah.
You know, to the point where I've almost slowed right down on buying new stuff, because that the thrill has been replaced with just talking about this stuff with other people.
Oh, awesome. When you say you like doing your research and finding new stuff, do you prefer going to toy fairs to find stuff, or you're quite happy doing it on the internet?
Oh, it's a mix of stuff. I'll research on the internet. I'll do, sometimes I do random searches on eBay, not to buy things, but just to see what comes up. And I go, oh, never seen that before. What on earth is that? And then I'll, you know, there's some great channels out there that kind of go into the more kind of not into the sort of more uncommon toy lines. So and some of the bootlegs and stuff. I don't have any bootlegs, but I'm sort of going, oh, that's kind of, some of those are interesting. But yeah, toy fairs, for me, going to a toy fair that's a thrill just in its own right. You never know what you're going to find at a toy fair.
You
never know.
So do you have any expectations when you go to toy fairs, or do you just go completely?
I used to, but that's because my collection was smaller. So I used to go, I like Sandown, for example. I used to wake up in the morning, go to Sandown and say to myself, right, let's see if I can find 1 or 2 Karate Kid figures.
Okay.
And, to add to the collection. Now I don't have any expectations whatsoever, but partly because things I'm trying to look for, I'm probably not going to find now. And to be honest, I am noticing a shift. I think it's getting harder and harder to find 80s stuff at these toy fairs. I used to go to the toy fairs and I could scoop up loads of Rambo figures and Karate Kid figures and real Ghostbusters and whatever, anything from the 80s. And now I find it much harder. They're there, but they're not. I find they're not as complete as they used to be, or their condition's not as good. I think over the last 5-7 years, people have been going and just scooping all this stuff up. And now a lot of this stuff is in people's collections. So yeah. So now
damn you people.
Yeah, damn you collectors. How dare you? So no, I don't really have that many expectations now. I go and I meet up with people. I meet up with people now, whereas I used to go around and just buy stuff. Now I go and meet up with people. I talk to a lot of the dealers as well. A lot of friends are sellers. So if I find something interesting, I go, I'll have a look and buy it. Like recently, I bought from Andy's Toys and Models the Battle Beasts book. He's done a little new book. I bought that book, not knowing anything about Battle Beasts. And the next time I went, I thought, actually, maybe I'll buy a few. So I went to Andy and bought a few.
I remember those as a kid. Yeah, blimey.
So
Right, last question. What does your collection mean to you?
Oh wow, that's a question, isn't it? What does it mean to me? I think it's an outlet for me, and it's, for me, it helps me relax. It really does. If I have any anxiety or whatever, then I'll come up here and I can shut the door, and it's basically like an oasis, really. I just escape. I think that's really what it is for me. It's something that I can get my head and my hands into. It's an outlet, really. One is the creativity around the restoration. So I do like doing the restorations. So a lot of the videos on my channel are restorations, and that that is an outlet in its own right. But then the collecting is another outlet, and then just the whole curating of this room is an outlet as well. So for me, if I didn't have this collection, I wouldn't have that outlet. I probably would have something else maybe that I would get into, but this is what I'm into at the moment. And the fact that I've now been able to meet a load of other people, it's like a whole new aspect to my life that I didn't have before. So yeah, it's opened up a lot of doors really, and been able to meet a lot of people, and yeah, keeps me sane basically. That's what it's doing for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Awesome stuff. Awesome. Well, this is the end of the chat, Dave. And I've got to say, it's been absolutely fascinating talking to you and listening to you. It really has. I've absolutely enjoyed this. This has been marvelous. I really have enjoyed it. So thank you so much for taking the time to do it. It does mean a lot. Anybody coming onto the channel and being part of this series, it does mean a lot. So thank you so much. Social media wise, where can people find you?
Well, before I do that, thank you for having me on. Basically,
Oh no,
I've enjoyed
pleasure,
this chat
absolute
too.
pleasure. Oh, good.
You can mostly find me on YouTube under the Vintage Toy Rush YouTube channel. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram. Those are the two main social media places that you'll find me. So that if you want to contact me, probably Twitter or Instagram is the best place.
Okay, well, what I'll do is I shall leave a link to all your social media platforms in the description below. Once again, this has been Dave from Vintage Toy Rush. An absolute pleasure talking to you, mate. I've really, really enjoyed this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And all I've got left to say is thank you all for watching. Take care, stay safe, and we shall see you in the next video. Bye for now. Thank you.
Bye.